Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Premier Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim in Green Bay. Here to talk some Packers this morning. Tim, how you doing, Bubba?
Doing good, man. Got the diesel going. Happy Monday. The refs still suck, you know.
Yes, they do. And if you don't believe me, just sign on the socials for just a second. Kind of proud of the NFL community, to be honest with you. Everybody kind of banding together and taking a little bit of a stand. But we're not going to make this show all about that, obviously. We did enough of that last night. There'll be a little bit of it trickled in, I'm sure, as we walk through Twitter. But we're going to cover a couple of different things, guys. Obviously, it's Senior Bowl week. It's East-West Shrine Bowl week. We're going to hit on some of the prospects that are going to be playing in that. We've already began to touch on that a little bit, but there's a couple articles I want to get into, one being the 33rd team with their Senior Bowl sleepers, okay? So we'll kind of see where they're sitting on the consensus big board in terms of some of these players, as well as Daniel Jeremiah did his first mock draft. So we're going to try to get to that point as well. Okay, Josh, thanks, Dad. Appreciate you, bub.
They're great. They're great.
Yeah, you're right.
They're phenomenal.
I'm always amazed at how people try to tell other people how to think. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Let's jump into it. We got some news here across the board. Ian Rappaport, the Bears are hiring Broncos tight end coach Declan Doyle as their new offensive coordinator per me and Tom Pelissero. Ian Rappaport tweeted that out. A key hire for Coach Ben Johnson. Doyle is a rising offensive mind at just 28. He's now an OC. So that's an interesting hire. I think that kind of came out of left field. I haven't done a whole lot of research on the Broncos, the history of their offense. One of the things I used to like to do, Tim, every time this time of the year, I would really like to do a deep dive of, okay, where are the coaching changes happening? What trees do they come from? And kind of see, okay, here's the system they're going to be kind of, I'm trying to think of the right word, like a skeleton of their offense is going to be structured around the different aspects of said offensive coordinator's coaching tree, right? Like, to give you an example, when Matt LaFleur was hired, obviously we weren't doing this podcast at the time. I immediately was like, okay, what coaching tree is going? Okay, this is the Kyle Shanahan tree. But as you dig just a little bit deeper, you go, whoa, he's a lot different than Kyle Shanahan. He's more like Sean McVay, who came from the same coaching tree. But as these guys get their own jobs, the terminology is pretty much the same. The idea around the offense is pretty much the same. It's just they've got different ways of getting there to that success, right? So you've seen Matt LaFleur press into the Sean McVay approach, and Mike McDaniel down in Miami pressed into the Kyle Shanahan approach. That's a good example of one coaching tree. So I'm eager to see what tight end coach from the Broncos there, Declan Doyle, does as the offensive coordinator with the Bears. And again, Tim, we talk about this all the time. He's the offensive coordinator, but we know Ben Johnson's going to be calling the plays and running the show there in Chicago, I'm sure.
Yeah, and, as a Packer fan, it's like you're kind of vacillating between these 2 points of like, oh boy, the Bears are making changes, right? They've got a young upstart head coach, right? He's putting his staff together. Maybe the Bears won't be a raging dumpster fire. They'll be a smoldering dumpster fire or something next year. Or there's the other side of the coin, which is, wow, they could be really good. You kind of don't know what you're going to get here. I'm leaning more towards the side of, hey, we got a first-year head coach and we got a first-year OC. Let's see what happens. I'm assuming Ben Johnson is going to be the mastermind of that offense, and Doyle will probably be the play caller as they put that offense together. So I'm not in panic mode as a Packer fan. I've always said the NFC North being better makes the NFL better. We kind of saw that throughout the season this year as we had 3 really competitive teams in the NFC North. If we add a fourth next year, hey, more power to them. I think we're better when our division is better. So it's probably a good hire, but time will tell. But I feel good as a Packer fan that we've got, a first-year head coach, and we've got now a first-year OC at the helm there in Chicago. So should make it interesting for for us Packer fans, because we've got some experience on our staff, no rookies on our staff. I'll take it.
Yeah, and the other thing that I feel good about, Tim, is like you said, the first year head coach and Ben Johnson. When you're the head coach, guys, it's totally different from being an OC or DC. You now have obviously say over everything. You've got to oversee everything. The good head coaches kind of allow their coordinators to do their job. And when I say the good head coaches, I really mean the great head coaches. They were good at delegating, right? And giving people responsibility within the team and not trying to micromanage every aspect of the game. That way you can focus on the key decisions you need to make as a head coach. The going forward on fourth down, as silly as it sounds, is how you're going to structure your game plan to cater to the fact that you're going to plan on deferring or taking the football, a lot of different things, how you're going to control the middle eight, how aggressive you're going to be in the middle eight, how you're going to approach that fourth quarter if the game plays out this way, how you're going to approach the fourth quarter if the game plays out that way. Because we always talk about, Bill Belichickian way of looking at the game is there's really three phases in the game. The first quarter heading into the second is all about gathering information and making an adjustment. The last 4 minutes of the second quarter and the first 4 minutes of the third quarter is all about controlling the momentum by controlling the middle eight. And then the fourth quarter is a standalone game. Throw everything out the window. What's working today, what isn't. We got to adjust in the fourth quarter and go out and try to win the game that's being played on the field right now. And typically, that's why you've got so many teams that come back in the fourth quarter across the entire National Football League, is because the team that's winning presses in and understands I'm playing the clock. And the team that's willing to get out of their game plan and go, you know what, this isn't working, we've got to adjust and treat the fourth quarter like a standalone game. Those are typically the teams that lead the league, and those come from behind victories, right? So, again, that's not nothing I made up or came up with. That's Bill Belichick 101. That's how he approaches the game. So, let's see what else we got in the chat here. I know we got several people filing in. Holmes says, I've decided that Mac makes a lot of sense at edge on a 1 to 2 year deal. Yeah, obviously, if you watch this show, Holmes, and we know you do, that's kind of where we're at. That's where we've been. It does make a lot of sense. He's one of the few players in free agency that I would say I'm okay with overpaying for him. And you're probably going to have to overpay for him to get him in here, right? That's truly the case. Green Bay is not a team that people are just going to line up to go play for. We've seen that in the past. If football is not first and foremost, there's other cities across the country that these players would love to live in, right? Like your Miamis, even Texas. Texas is one of those states that people just love. Anybody who moves to Texas, they love living there, right? Believe it or not, Nashville is like one of the most sought after cities right now, or at least areas around Nashville that people want to move to. And that's why it makes it a little more attractive than, say, some place like Green Bay, where obviously it gets cold a lot quicker. And there's been people on the record. This isn't my opinion. I love Green Bay. I'm planning on buying a house there within the next 2 years. But, your Terrell Owens says, ain't a damn thing to do in Green Bay, right? The famous quote, and this and that.
Yeah, sorry, we only have one strip club, T.O. Sorry.
That's the way that works, right? So, but when it comes to Khalil Mack, I think he's thinking about that ring, to be honest with you. And that's probably what's going to be not the deciding factor, but the big sway point. Let me give you an example of what I'm trying to explain. Let's say Kansas City wins this Super Bowl again, right? And Khalil Mack says, man, I want a ring. I'll come out there and play for you guys for less to win a ring. Well, he'll play for less for a team like that probably. But if you come in and give significantly more than the Chiefs to get him to come to somewhere like Green Bay, that can make that happen. There's few players in free agency this year that, my personal opinion, I could be wrong, that I believe are worth overpaying for. Khalil Mack is that dude right now at just where he's played, right? The level in which he's played. So, anything you want to add to the Khalil Mack? It's cool to see people kind of press it into that a little bit, man. I'd like to see a little momentum created there.
Yeah, and I think Holmes is right. Like 1 to 2 year deal. I mean, if you're trying to get him, like you said, to come to Green Bay, you probably have to give him a deal that he feels like, hey, he's going to finish his career here. Whether or not he plays another year or two is kind of up in the air. I'm sure he wants to play at least one more season. So if you have to, give him a little more years on the contract than you may have wanted to get him there, that's an option. Obviously, like you said, slightly overpaying. You may have to sweeten the pot a little bit to get him, to sign that contract. But he's definitely on the radar, man. And I think he could help our football team, certainly.
Yeah, definitely. Number one Packer fan says, do we think that a change at OC is needed so that we have an actual play caller allowing Matt LaFleur to focus on head coaching duties? Here's the issue with that, number one Packer fan, in my opinion. Matt LaFleur's strength is play calling. I know people disagree with that, but I'm sorry. You can't have a head coach who's now had two different quarterbacks. Obviously had to fight through injuries with the roster like he has since he's been here in Green Bay. Had the youngest roster 2 years in a row and still finished with a top 5, top 10 offense, right? I don't see Matt LaFleur giving up the play calling. I don't think I want him to. But what I would love to see, number one Packer fan, is bring in a veteran presence to help Matt LaFleur on the coaching side. Let me explain what I mean here. Like a senior advisor. Like in business, one way people screw up, they'll be ambitious as all get out, right? As a business owner, anything you do in life, really. Be extremely ambitious and you'll go after something. And you'll have success to a certain level, right? And then you plateau because you're not willing to lower your ego and get someone in-house to help you get to that next level that's been there, that's walked through the minefield. What I would love to see Matt LaFleur do, keep the play calling duties, but go find a couple of old heads that understand the game at a much higher level than Matt LaFleur. Maybe not the current game. It can be the old game, but just get an extra set of eyes on it. There were several people that did that for Bill Belichick, one of which his name was Ernie Adams. And if you guys don't know who Ernie Adams is, I'm pretty sure that's his name. I get it mixed up sometimes. But Ernie Adams was this dude that when Belichick was in Cleveland, if I remember correctly, Art Modell, the owner, actually made a joke and said, I'll give, $15,000, just back in the day, $15,000 to the person who could tell me what Ernie Adams does. And, like he didn't understand it. And behind the scenes, this was Belichick's guy that he was constantly bouncing things off of, this old football head, right? Let me give you an example. You guys remember the Super Bowl, right? The Super Bowl where against Seattle, where they get the interception inside the 2-yard line. The story you didn't hear much was how the Patriots prepared for that game the week of, right? The story you heard was, man, Pete Carroll's an idiot for not giving it to Marshawn. Gosh, what's his name? Escaping.
Marshawn Lynch, yeah.
Marshawn Lynch. I want to say Marshawn Lloyd. Marshawn Lynch. Why did he not give him the ball? Well,
Reed, take your eye off the ball. You'll hear all about it.
Exactly. They knew that the Patriots struggled with that stack look at the goal line, and they were playing the numbers game, right? Well, guess what happened? The week of the Super Bowl, Ernie Adams comes to practice with a card. We need to focus on this play right here. This is a play they're going to run if they find themselves in a situation inside the 5 and they practice it. Well, Malcolm Butler, I believe it was, ended up making the interception. He did not practice that play successfully all week long, struggled all week long. And then at the time, they sent him in to make the play. That was just a split-second decision, right? And you could see him and I think it was Brandon Browner switch positions right before the play. Brandon Browner recognizes what's going on, and he knows the call is I've got to jam the guy at the front of the stack, right, and allow the other guy to shoot his shot. Malcolm Butler's a smaller corner. Brandon Browner recognizes it, goes, hey, switch. So he jams, and Malcolm Butler shoots his shot, picks the ball off. They win the Super Bowl. So, again, the casual fan on the surface, the sports media looks at it and goes, boy, what a stupid call by Pete Carroll. When in reality, the numbers suggested they should run that play, especially with the down and distance. And on the other side, an old head by the name of Ernie Adams was the one who combed through all of Seattle's tape and found that one play to go, hey, guys, we need to practice this. We need to work on this. They're going to run this on us. It's going to happen because the stars align with how much man coverage the Patriots played, along with they're going to load the box to try to stop Marshawn Lynch inside the 5. Yeah. Everything lined up perfectly. Now, where did Bill Belichick get that idea from with Ernie Adams? Who mentored Belichick, right, outside of his dad, Stephen Belichick, was Bill Parcells, right? Bill Parcells had a guy, I can see his face, I can't think of his name. If you Googled it right now, if you Google anybody in the chat, if you Google Bill Parcells' mentor, there's going to be a name pop up, and I'll be able to tell you if it's correct in here. But he was the guy that Parcells took with him everywhere he went, Tim. He was that sounding board. Now, guess where he met him at? It was his high school basketball coach, right? So again, he had someone that needed that could give him an extra set of eyes that all through his entire career was helping him make these decisions, these tough decisions in the background. You never heard his name, right? I'm telling you, man, if people Google it, it'll pop right up. If you just type in Bill Parcells mentor, I'll do it here. Mickey, there it is. Boom. Thank you, number one Packer fan, Mickey Corcoran. Now, guess who Mickey Corcoran was coached by in high school basketball, Tim?
Vince Lombardi.
Vince Lombardi. So
that was a pretty good guess.
Yeah. Imagine that. But now, go back to the original question here that we had. Now, I know this is a very long story, but these are the things I think are important behind the scenes, right? Matt LaFleur, love his play calling, it's his strength. Get someone like an Ernie Adams in-house. Get someone like a Mickey Corcoran in-house, right, that you can trust. He kind of did it last year with Robert Saleh, but let's be honest, that's not a mentor. That's a buddy. That's someone
right.
You trust, obviously, right? I don't know who that dude could be, but, Belichick would have been the perfect one. I would have went to Belichick, and some people don't have the security to do that. They're too insecure to do that. Like, they're going to be looking at my show like the second we struggle, they're going to want to hire him. They're going to want to hire him. And obviously Mickey Corcoran wasn't a Bill Belichick type, right? Name the other, Ernie Adams. Ernie Adams was never in the running for a coaching position. But I'm just saying someone like that you could get in-house to bounce things off of and just kind of be your right-hand man. I think it would be huge. Essentially what I'm saying, Tim, a coach's coach.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, because I think with Matt LaFleur's scheme and system, like what we've seen a combination of pseudo predictability and teams kind of figuring things out. And then we've also seen kind of a lack of execution from the player standpoint in some of these looks. So having a person like that in your building that you can kind of use as a sounding board or bounce ideas off of, when you're out there in a practice or you're out there at training camp or you're doing your install, it helps you stay fresh, because I think one of the things that ran McCarthy out of Green Bay was, offensively things just got stale and they got predictable. And, I'm not saying that's where we're at right now with Coach LaFleur. I don't think so. But I do think that, as you get into your tenure as a head coach in this league, there are teams and defenses that will figure you out and figure out down and distance and situationally what you like to call. We saw quite a few jet sweeps on 3rd and 4th and shorts getting blown up this year because it's become a staple of this offense. So it's not necessarily what you're calling, but when you're calling it. And I think another football mind, maybe like you said, maybe someone from the old school who's not rooted in the latest trends, can kind of help you balance out your offensive call sheet. I'm not saying we need to rework the playbook, but I certainly think that there's some truth to what you're saying, that bringing a football mind in there to just kind of be allow you to bounce some ideas off of that could certainly be beneficial for Matt LaFleur, I think, going forward.
Yeah, I agree. And we got a couple comments here. J. Cole says, does Matt LaFleur look at Rich that way? And Mrs. Green said, do you think that promoting Bisaccia to assistant head coach was the attempt to provide a mentor without having to add staff? I think it was. It was kind of twofold. Obviously, you wanted to improve the special teams, but Rich Bisaccia was being targeted as a potential head coach across the league. So it's like having that second head. That's what your assistant head coach is supposed to be. Some people, it's just a title to protect the coach, like Antoine Randall in Chicago, right?
Yep.
You kind of protect him, so someone has to make him their assistant head coach in order to sign him, if I understand the rules correctly.
Yeah. I think there's some truth to what she's saying, though, too, though. Like, also kind of mentorship for Matt, on the sidelines as well. Yeah,
no doubt about it, man. Let's see here. We'll get to that in a second. Let's go back. Let's fall back just a touch. Holmes MD1 understood, Clay. It would have to be a player-driven acquisition and no bidding. We're talking about Khalil Mack. Completely agree. Josh Martin says 1 year, $8 million max for Mack, but you might as well not even call.
Yeah, I ain't thinking that.
You think Khalil Mack's going to play for $8 million in Green Bay? He may play for $8 million in Kansas City, but he ain't going to do it for someone that he would probably Philly, Kansas City, maybe the Bills, someone like that you see they're this close to making it to the Super Bowl. The Packers are close. The Packers are like here, right? But I wouldn't put them in that top tier yet. Again, adding someone like a Khalil Mack kind of pushes you over the edge a little bit. But imagine how good the Chiefs will be if they had Khalil Mack, if he continues to perform at the level he does, opposite Chris Jones. Because Chris Jones can play 1, he can play 3, he can play 5, he can play 9. Put him all over the defensive line and maximize the mismatch that he creates for just about any offensive line he goes up against outside of the top tier guys. And you put Khalil Mack on the other side, good luck blocking that front, right? But yeah, I've got to say, again, with all due respect, Josh, I don't think 1 year, $8 million going to get Mack in Green Bay. I hope I'm wrong. Because that would be absolutely awesome. Yep. Holmes MD1, we definitely need to improve the short passing game, but we don't want to turn J Love into Charlie Checkdown. There's definitely needs to be a balance there, Holmes. But I tend to lean toward what Joseph is saying here. I think we would have had more consistent success if he had been Charlie Checkdown more. That's the thing that our boy Patrick Mahomes has done the last couple of years, Tim, is he's not just bomb the ball. He's Charlie Checkdown, and they're winning Super Bowls, right? But like Holmes said, there's got to be a balance. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and then the check down. Let's have the correct conversation, right? What is a check down? You're going through your reads. It's not there. Throw that check down. Throw that safety valve. What I'm more interested in is Jordan seeing the open read and getting the damn ball out right away, and not worrying about going through your progressions and getting caught in the pocket, patting the ball and taking a sack. I think there's some truth to it. I think we're saying the same thing. It's get the damn ball out, get the ball out, get it out efficiently, and let's move. Every play doesn't need to be effort read down there somewhere.
Right.
Let's not try and win it with one throw every single time. And, this is the thing we talk about with Jordan too. It's kind of the thing you love, but the thing that bothers you too. It's like, he has that killer instinct. He has that, I want to win. I want to help my team win. If I can take a shot play, I'm going to take the shot play. I think it's just a change in philosophy and get him to hit those initial looks early in the progression read rather than trying to wait around. And then, we even saw that a few times. He would throw the check down, but by the time he threw it, it was so late. It just didn't do anything. Right. So if you get that ball out in rhythm on the swing pass or that check down, you allow your guys to create something, afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. Other news here. We'll hit this and we'll get back to the chat. Continue this conversation. I love these conversations in the off season, man, talking about what happened in the season, where you can make the minor adjustments, the little things that people aren't talking about, right? Like if you go to Twitter right now, what you're going to get is a bunch of people who have minimal followers that pretend like they're draft experts telling you why you're wrong and why this player's a bust and this and that. And it's like, I would rather press into these conversations and argue with people about pad level and whatnot, if that makes sense. But anyway, Ian Rappaport tweeted out the Seahawks are hiring Saints offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak as their new offensive coordinator. Sources told the insiders after an exhaustive process, Seattle and coach Mike McDonald lands their top choice. So I'm pretty sure this is Greg Kubiak's son. And you guys know who Greg Kubiak is, West Coast offense, been in the league forever. Obviously done a lot of great things. So Clint Kubiak's going to get his shot in Seattle. There were some rumors. I think Adam Stenavich might have even interviewed for that. So I would imagine what they were going to do is try to hire Adam Stenavich and make him the assistant head coach if they had to do that to get him away from Green Bay. But it sounds like Steno's safe, Halfley's safe. John Eric Sutherland, director of pro personnel, he's safe now, as all the GM spots have pretty much been filled. So that's great news for Goody to have his right-hand man, one of his right-hand men, back with him. So here we go, though. Clint Kubiak is in with the Seattle Seahawks. Tim, any thoughts on that? I think it's a pretty good hire, pretty solid, young up-and-coming coach, been around the game his entire life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look no further. The coaching tree continues to expand, right? Gary Kubiak, part of the Shanahan tree, right? We all know that. And, it is cool, though, when you see the lineage like this in the league. This is a guy that's probably going to coach for the next 20 years, 30 years, probably. And, he's kind of at the beginning of his ascent. So it will be pretty interesting out there in Seattle. We'll see how it looks in the NFC West this year.
Yeah. And when you say the Shanahan tree, people may think Kyle Shanahan. Guys, it goes deeper than
No.
that.
Mike
Gary
Shanahan.
Kubiak. Gary Kubiak coached under Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan's dad. And then that tree obviously goes way back.
We're
right?
familiar with Mike Shanahan here in Green Bay. We all remember that Super Bowl.
And that damn helicopter run, right? We always talk about. Ron Sample, top teams use their running backs way more than Green Bay. In the running game, the Packers really pressed into it this year. Guys, I've got to, and I'm not saying Ron's saying this. I know Ron's not saying that we didn't run the ball as much as we should, or maybe he is. I don't know. We ran the ball more than we ever have in the Matt LaFleur era in Green Bay. But I think what Ron's talking about is checking it down to the running backs. And here's the thing, Ron, the play calls were there. How many times, Tim, on Chalk Talk did we say T-lead swing, T-lead swing? Now, first half of the season, Jordan was not getting there in time. He was not getting to the answer to the equation early enough. And what I mean by that is you can have a T-lead swing. That's not supposed to be, okay, number one's not open, two's open, three's not open. Oh, crap, now let's check it to the T-lead swing. The T-lead swing is there when you pick a side and read high-low. So if you picked, let's say the T-lead swing is going to the right, and you pick the side that's, let's say you've got like a wolf concept where it's an out with a corner over top of it. The goal is ball snap, pick a side. I'm going wolf. You work the wolf, and when you work the wolf, as soon as you see neither of those are open, get it to the swing as quick as possible. Because what's happening is that out is holding that flat corner hostage over there. The corner is walking the safety and or another corner out as well if they're in any kind of man coverage. And now you got a +1 hat count with the lead blocker in the swing pass. What Jordan was doing was ball was snapped, look left first, crap, I'm going to pick this side. Now both the corner and the out are off the table. Now let's try to check it down to the lead swing. And by that time, there's already defenders emerging on it. So
you're getting a completion if you're lucky, and if you do, it's no gain or you're losing a yard. Yep.
Yeah. And another way that you can beat cover 2 man, and I don't think we've seen one angle route in that Bears game where they, listen, they changed it up, guys. That's the perfect example of a team having played the Packers many times over the years and them going, you know what, we don't run a lot of man coverage against them. Let's play some 2-man under, and it threw them for a loop.
Yep.
You run a little angle route with the running back. Basically what you've got is the linebacker's in man coverage. It could be a safety. Most of the time it's a linebacker. They see Josh Jacobs come out like he's going to run a shoot route. You've got to respect that and be ready to cover outside shoulder, right? Because if he takes it up the sideline, everybody's back's turned with the exception of the safety. Now you got Josh Jacobs one-on-one with the safety for a tutter, in a 60-yard game. But what you do with the angle route, if they've got to respect that and then you just cut it back in on the angle, what I mean by an angle is you show a shoot and then come back across the middle with a sharp, kind of a sharp diagonal cut, all right, back inside. Typically, that angle route is a choice route. Like I've heard Ben Kurt talk about this a lot. It's like a T choice, H choice, whatever you want to call it, where the running back will go out and he can run a shoot or he can run an angle. And with that shoot, as he goes out, if the linebacker's kind of hugging the inside, thinking, no, I'm not going to give the inside, keep that shoot on, hammer the shoot, and then you're off and running. If he bots to the outside, like I'm going to take that shoot away, then you hit the angle. Give you a good example. Go back to last year, week 1, Aaron Jones, when he pulled his hammy, that play was that angle route we're talking about, that angle choice. So that's another way I think Ron Sam was talking about, using your running backs more. In that situation in Chicago, heat of the battle, it's easy for me to, a month later go, man, here's what they should have done, Tim. Let me tell you as I drink my coffee. When you're out there and you got a game plan and you want to stick to that game plan, if you bail on your game plan too early, your team will recognize that and go, this guy don't know what the hell he's doing.
Yep. So. And you got to have confidence in what you're putting together. You're preparing for a game all week. If you throw that game plan out, 5 minutes into the game, yeah, you're going to lose confidence in yourself first of all, and then your players are going to lose the confidence in you as a play caller as well. So you got to stick with it.
No doubt about it. Number one Packer fan says, if you want to get to the next level, you cannot go cheap anymore. If you want the Lombardi back home, you have to pay to play. It's true, man. Again, I've been as excited as anyone to have the youngest team in the league 2 years in a row, but you got to accept the fact that there's no other team in the history of the game that's won the Super Bowl as the youngest team. We could sit here with our head buried in the sand and pretend like, oh no, we got a shot next year. You understand? You've got to break 100 years, 100 plus years of, at least it's less than that because they didn't have all the data at the time. I'm sure guys were lying about their age. They were 42 years old in 1933, saying that they were 28 so they could stay in the league, right? But I know. You've got to add some veteran leadership. Again, why did we lose? You've got to ask those questions. Why did you get beat by the Eagles? Yes, the officiating played a big role. Everyone would agree with that. But we got our ass kicked in the trenches. It's really that simple. So that if you want to beat the Philadelphia Eagles or a team built like them, you've got to get stronger in the trenches. It's got to happen. I know some people are fixated on cornerback and this and that. For me, man, I teeter back and forth, Tim. I've talked a lot about 3-tech, and I think it's very, very, very important moving forward for our defense. But equally important is being able to block a front like the Philadelphia Eagles. And when I say block, I don't mean just zero pressures. I mean hold your own, right? You've got to be able to do that. So you got to get better in the trenches this year. That's why I would think, me personally, if I'm looking at free agency, I would go get one of these corners, one of these three that I talked about, even if Jai is back, to add a little bit more veteran depth to your cornerback room. I would also try to go get Drew Dowman at center if you can get him for the right price. That way you can help solidify the offensive line and still add more depth in the draft. Jordan Morgan to be healthy as well. And you can keep Elton at left guard. We've seen what happened when we moved him. That's something to take into consideration as well. And then the other aspect is try to go get that. If you go get Khalil Mack, now you're building the trenches on that side, and then use the draft to try to find your 3-tech of the future. I think that's a hell of an overhaul. You're talking about signing 3 players in free agency that'll probably tie up somewhere between 25 to 35 million in cap this year, and then you readjust next year. I think that could push you much, much closer to that top tier of talent. That makes sense. That's kind of the blueprint I'm coming up with here, man.
Yeah, you want to balance things out, right? A team full of veteran dogs doesn't usually get to the promised land either. If you're too, there is a thing, called being too old as well. So we've had the youth movement here the past couple of years, and I think time has shown us that it's time. We need to pepper in veteran leadership, and it has to be in these key position groups too, like we talked about. And I do think corner could be one of those spots. I also think in the trenches, and then of course we talk about a veteran, wide receiver possibly helping us on the offensive side of the ball as well. So you're kind of balancing it out. You got to plan for the future, and you've got to have fresh legs and youth and high RAS scores and all of that good stuff. But you also need a dog, veteran dog, inserted into the lineup at strategic points, and especially when it comes to the defense. Like we said, we're doing this hockey line kind of approach, right, where we're constantly putting fresh legs in, rotational guys. That's a perfect spot for veteran players that, one of the knocks we talked about with Khalil Mack is that he's not having the snap counts that he had, 4 or 5 years ago. The snap totals are down. It's like, well, hey, we don't need him to go play 50 snaps a game for us anymore. We need a guy like that to come in and give us 20 snaps or 18 snaps, something like that. So that's where you can pepper in those veterans, because what you're looking for with a veteran is not that sheer raw athletic performance. You're looking for a guy that's going to be where he's supposed to be. He's not going to make a mistake. He's going to sniff things out before they happen. He's going to communicate, and he's going to help be a leader of men in that locker room. That's what you're looking for with a veteran player, I think.
Yeah, and with Khalil Mack, you guys correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. Has he ever gotten into any off-field trouble? Have you ever heard a situation where his teammates had a problem with him? Like,
no,
I can't think. And he's played in the league for a long time,
He strikes me as one of those guys that's only mean on a football field, which is where you want him, right? Keep the piss hot on the field, and then afterwards you're the nicest dude in the world,
Mm-hmm. And I understand the concern for his age too. I get it. That's why for me it's a 1 to 2 year rental is all it is. You got to overpay for that, but in 2 years it won't matter anyway, right? Really, in 1 year it won't matter. And what I mean by that is let's say his best offer is what Josh Martin said, and I don't think it will be. Let me be on the record. I don't think all he's going to get is 1 year, $8 million. Okay. Let's say a team comes out, Tim, and they say, hey, we'll give you 2 years, $30 million, $15 million guaranteed. Essentially what that means, guys, it's a 1 year, $15 million deal, right? So what if the Packers came out and said, we'll give you a 2 year, $40 million, $20 million guaranteed? Essentially, it's a 1 year, $20 million deal. Now, you can structure it in a way where the cap hit hits later. You can even tack on 2 or 3 voidable years. That way you absorb the cap hit, no problem at all. And you can still be freed up to get the other players you want this year. And let's say he does hit the wall this year. Okay, well, you cut bait. You're on the hook for, let's say, $8 million in cap penalty next year, and you just move on. At least you can sleep well knowing we did what we thought we needed to do to try to win the whole thing. And then in a year and a half, it doesn't matter anyway. It's like he never even existed on the team. But What if he does go out there and play like a Von Miller, play like a Chris Jones, play like one of these players that's a true difference maker on the defensive line like he was this year, right? Him opposite of Gary, to me, it makes a lot of sense. And this is going to control, too, Tim, how we approach the draft, right? Like, if you sign Khalil Mack, that changes how you look at edge defender in the draft. If you sign Chris Dahlman, that changes how you look at drafting offensive linemen in the draft that you might potentially look to start on the interior offensive lineman if you kick Elton over, or someone to try to start and move from a guard position to the center to start in Josh Myers' place if he doesn't come back. That's the other thing. Yep. We're not sitting here saying Josh Myers isn't coming back. There's a chance. There's a chance he comes back for sure. So, yeah, I agree, though, number one Packer fan, we've reached that point with the franchise where it's okay. Many things are in place. We need some veteran leadership in here. Sprinkle it in. And that doesn't mean you handicap yourself for the next 5 years with the cap. You can add 2 or 3 solid guys, really good difference-making guys, and look up in 2 years and go, all right, our cap is no longer affected by that. Joseph in the chat says, if you had to pick between Sawyer and Tyleek at 23, who you take, Clay? Let me go to my board. Okay, let our board, I should say. I keep saying my board. I'm so used to doing this by myself, but we got a whole damn team helping us this year, which is absolutely awesome. Let's go to our board and answer that question. Let's allow the board to answer it. Tyleek Williams, 3-tech, right, is sitting in the 31 spot on our big board. Jack Sawyer is sitting in the number 14 spot. So when Joseph asked if you had to pick between the two, Jack Sawyer or Tyleek Williams. Is his name Williams? Am I thinking right, Tim?
Yep, Tyleek Williams.
Yeah, Tyleek Williams. At 23, who you take? If you don't get Khalil Mack in free agency, it's Jack Sawyer.
Yep.
Now, if you go get someone like Khalil Mack, it still may be Jack Sawyer.
Yeah, and then it's Deion Walker later on in the draft.
Let me explain to you what I mean by it. It still might be Jack Sawyer. Just using our board as a reference point here. Okay, let me get it up here. And this is where you got to decide through the tiers, the tiering of your information when it comes to your draft board, right? So here is our current draft board. Right here, you'll see Jack Sawyer. Let me see if I can zoom in just a touch, maybe help out. Problem is when I zoom in, you lose the grades. So we're just going to have to keep it like this, guys. I apologize. There we go. That's a little bit better. So Jack Sawyer here is currently in the 14 spot, right? So him sitting in the 14 spot, and let's say you do sign Khalil Mack. Well, down here you have Tyleek Williams in the 31 spot. So let's say they're your 2 best players left on your board. I don't know if they will be, but let's just pretend that they are, okay? What you've got to ask yourself is this dude with a 38.3 grade in Tyleek Williams, and this is if Goody's board looks like that. It may be they may not even have Jack Sawyer on their board. I doubt that. Yep. That could be the case. You got to acknowledge that. He's sitting at a 20.5. In my opinion, guys, that is 2 tiers higher than Tyleek Williams. Now you think, why do you have such a high grade on Jack Sawyer, Clayton? I'm looking for criticism on Jack Sawyer. I'm looking for it because I'm having a hard time finding it. Like outside of people on Twitter saying they hate Ohio State.
Well, I mean, that has nothing to do with drafting a player for the NFL.
That'd be like me refusing to draft a Florida Gator because I'm a Kentucky fan, or refusing to draft, I'm trying to think of a USC guy because I love Notre Dame, right?
Right.
That's silly. That's just silly talk. And I understand the emotions, and if it's tongue in cheek, we're having fun. I got you. I get the humor in that. But Jack Sawyer, guys, let's just take into consideration the minute amount of data we have on our board right now, right? In 2022, he was the 223rd edge defender, all right, in the entire college football. In 23, he was the 18th best edge defender. This year, he was the 7th best edge defender. The consensus big board, the PFF big board has him at 21. The consensus big board has him at 39. Okay. Now, if he comes out and he checks all the measurables for Goody, right, then he's probably going to climb a little bit more, but I think Tyleik Williams will climb a little bit too, so they'll kind of push each other up the board if they go out there and just crush with the 9 RAS or whatever it may be. We've got some other information coming in too from like the Daniel Jeremiahs and the 33rd teams and other sites that we have a lot of respect for. As it sits right now, it'd be really hard to pass up on Jack Sawyer just because you signed Khalil Mack. And now the question becomes, well, how do you get all these guys on the field? Well, I know this. Matt LaFleur loves that hockey line changing, right? So what you're going to have a rotation of is, last year it was Rashawn Gary, LVN, Brenton Cox Jr., Kingsley Enagbare for the most part, right? Now that hockey lineup would be Rashawn Gary and Khalil Mack, Jack Sawyer, and Brenton Cox Jr. rotating in and out.
And then you've got some freedom to kick LVN inside once in a while.
Gary inside.
Yep.
Once in a while on a true pass rush down, true pass rush down, right?
Yep.
So yeah. Now, does that fix your problem in the middle, right, with your 3-tech? It does not. If you take Tyleik Williams, he could be another Devontae White where we go, damn, he's really good at rushing the passer, but man, he's not helping in the run that much. You also, Tim, you got to, sometimes we can't see what do they say? You can't see the forest for the trees, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. It's old saying in Texas. They probably say it in Tennessee too. Never mind. You guys probably got that. One of the other old knucklehead presidents we've had throughout the course of our history. But you look up and you go, okay, yeah, we need a good run stuffer as a 3-tech as well. We want the guy who does everything well. But run defense wasn't a problem last year, right?
Yep.
If you said there was a problem on the defensive line, you'd say it was lack of pass rush. Now, some of that was fabricated. We talked about that in order to stop the run. And this isn't just going to magically change if you got the same philosophy on how you want to play defense. But there's going to come a time, Tim, where they've got to evolve that, and they do have to pin their ears back and go because teams are going to play into that whole aspect of their game. I kind of think you've seen that toward the end there in the playoffs where it just became – didn't you feel like Jalen Hurts could just sit back there all day long?
Yep,
right?
Too much time. Yep.
Right. So there's a balance. The one thing that us fans, especially me being an emotional fan that I am, you like to just think, well, just stop that. Just do that. Every time you say stop that or do that on offense or stop that on defense, you're weakening your defense at another point too.
Yep.
So it's not just this. I always say there's not a perfect defense where it just stops everything. It doesn't happen. It happens more often when you're Kansas City with a Chris Jones, Steve Spagnuolo, and the way they built that defense, right? Players win.
We see Spags, dialing up the blitzes, right? Mm-hmm. But you also see 4 guys getting home with the rush on a regular basis. And that's, I think, what we're talking about is we need to beef up the trenches, man. We have to be able to get pressure with 4 guys in a 43 scheme. If we've got to send 5 or 6 just to get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback, we see what happens, right? The ball comes out quick. You've got less coverage on the back end, and it turns into, explosive plays a lot of the time. So if we can find a way to get a little bit, bulkier and more presence in the trenches and get some pressure on these quarterbacks with 4, I think we're going to do ourselves a bigger favor going forward. Yeah.
Now, if we switch the argument to Tyleik Williams, right, and say, okay, why would you not take Tyleik Williams over, say, a Jack Sawyer? In my opinion, at least the information that we have right now would suggest he's less of a player than Jack Sawyer. That's just me personally. And that could change as we get closer to the draft. It's very early in the process. But again, this year, we wanted to lift up the hood and show you guys what's in the engine here this year when we're talking about building the draft board. So Tyleik Williams in 22 was the 57th best graded interior defender. Okay. 2023, he fell to the 82nd best. And then this year, he jumped back up to 56. So it kind of feels like in college football, he was never according to PFF, he was never better than the 56th best defensive lineman in college football. Now, we know those grades could be because other players are playing less talent. Ohio State plays top talent. You got to take that into consideration. Also, there's players around him that should be making him better, like Jack Sawyer and other people on that Ohio State defense. So you got to take that into consideration when you're dogging the smaller school guys, right? It's just all this needs to come into play. PFF big board had him at 24. The consensus big board had him at 35. So, again, significantly lower grade than our boy Jack Sawyer, who is sitting there, like I said, in the 14 spot with a 21.3. The way I do the tiers, and the board is nowhere near done, you do these in increments of 5, all right? And you'll notice with the information and how, like, the 33rd team will do their horizontal board when you break them down into tiers typically, the way it equates to my board that I've created over the years and now our board that we're doing this year is they would have it broke down into half the tiers, right? Meaning they would probably have a couple of players at the top, and then you would have multiple players, probably 5 to 10 players in that second tier. As opposed to us, we've got 4 players in tier 1, only 2 players in tier 2, and then 2 players in tier 3. You see how we're differentiating even more. But you do have to take into consideration that everybody's board is going to be different, So
Sure.
That's and again, this stuff's going to get shuffled around, but this is how it sits right now. And we're going to be adding a ton of more information in. We're also going to be doing identifiers like this right here, this red on 23. That means that Travis Hunter dealt with an injury in 23. So again, that 23 PFF grade should bring his grade down significantly, right? But we need to know, hey, probably injury related right there. And then what you're going to have to be careful for is when this 24 column this year, if any of those are lit up in red, we don't have the information in yet. Like right here, Chris Paul was injured in 23. That would explain why he went from 119 all the way down to 591 and then back up to 20, right? So those things right there will come into play as well. We'll also have little tags on each guy, like Shedeur Sanders. You see the EWS, that means East-West Shrine Game. We'll also put the Senior Bowl there, right? And the main reason is we'll also have the interviews. We're going to have a separate mark for if the Packers met with them and interviewed with them as well. Those guys will really pop. Again, we narrowed it down last year to 6 players, I think it was. 6 players that fit the Packers mold perfect, and they drafted 2 of those 6.
Yep.
So that's we'll continue to do that as the year goes on as well. So appreciate that question, though. I know it's a long answer, Joseph, but this is the time to ask and answer those questions for sure, man. So, Tim, we were going to get into some more Twitter stuff. Actually, let's go rapid fire so we can finish the Twitter stuff, and we'll have to hit those articles we talked about tonight because this went by really, really fast. This is a blast, though. Let me see. Let me close a couple things out. Got more windows open than a trailer park over here.
Heard it from a fan right here.
All right. So just real quick, don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but this graphic here pretty much told it. Not only did Josh Allen break the plane, the announcer said it. Sterator in the, I think that's how you say his name, the former head official that works for who was it, Fox calling this game, or was it CBS?
CBS had this one, yeah.
He said, yeah, it looked like a third of the football broke the plane. But not only that, pre-snap, there were 1, 2, 3 Kansas City Chiefs in the neutral zone. No flag.
They don't have access to the overhead cam.
Exactly right. Exactly. So again, we're not going to harp on it too much, but that's another thing that was came down the pike late last night. This is just the Xavier Watts for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, one of my favorite players, captain of the team. He just sent out a letter to Notre Dame fans, because obviously he's entering the draft, that somebody's going to get a hell of a football player there. He may not be that top tier talent, but he's one of those dudes, team player, captain. If he were to fall far enough, I'd be totally fine with the Packers taking somebody like that, add a little depth, but he'll probably be long gone before the Packers will look at another safety, and rightfully so. Yeah. Let's see here. There's a couple other things I wanted to hit on really quick. We'll just mention Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell, everybody's talking about how he dominated the Senior Bowl last year, Tim. And again, we got
on our draft board last year.
Yeah, we got a lot of flack. Not a lot of flack. We got a little bit of flack. He played for a small school, though. This is a perfect example, guys. Live and learn. Some people live and learn. Some people just live, right? That's what my coach used to say. He used to also say it's like pissing in the wind, right? So anyway, when it comes to Quinyon Mitchell, we didn't allow, he got zero negative marks from us because he played from a small school. Our board this year will have 0 negative marks for a small school. I feel like we do enough research, we put enough data into the base that, hey, we're not worried about that small school aspect. All right. So Quinyon Mitchell was our best corner on our board this year. Many people, too. We wasn't the only person. There were some that allowed that small school to drop him down and hop up your Kool-Aid McKinstry's, people like that above him. But Quinyon, a dog. And it's just another perfect example of why you need to focus on the Senior Bowl this year. The Shrine Game too, but the Senior Bowl is where the dogs of the dogs are, right? And we're going to be doing a live watch party during that on Saturday. So hop in here, have your TV set to watch the Senior Bowl, and we're just going to be hanging out live, watching it together. And we'll be taking your chats, your super chats, all that good stuff. We'll be showing, highlighting prospects, where we got them on the board as they make plays, things like that. It's going to be a fun conversation. So make sure you're in here on Saturday. Let's see here. Again, another shout out to Easton Butler, who's running down all the visit information. He's actually got a visit tracker for everybody to follow along. Go follow him on Twitter at Easton__Butler. Tim, this is the one thing I want to hit on real quick before we wrapped up. Jim Nagy put out some of the measurables from the Senior Bowl, and your boy Deion Walker, let me tell you, bub. And I say Tim's boy because Tim's much higher on him than I am, and I'm a Kentucky fan. But you go back to last year, I would have been on the hype train completely. I'm a little more hesitant this year, but he weighed in and measured in, Tim, 6'7", 340 pounds.
Thick.
We've been talking about him being 6'6" all offseason. He measured in at 6'7", and he's a dog, dude. I think I've actually got a clip here. I don't think we'll get in trouble for this. Watch him in the middle, playing one tech, right in the middle of one tech. Look at this. Look how big that dude is, man.
Can you imagine how terrifying it must be to be that ball carrier? And to just take the hand off and look up and see that unblocked coming at you. Look how he sheds the block so easily.
Unbelievable, man. And again, he's not the perfect prospect. That size sure helps, though, man. He's a monster. I watched this dude his whole career at Kentucky. Tim, when they said 6'7", I even went, damn. I didn't expect it. I thought he was 6'6". So,
and you can see he looks a little raw, right? Like he's going to be a developmental project in the National Football League. I don't care what team he goes to.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm really high on him, man. I got a feeling we need a big beast in the trenches. And I don't know. Like Holmes said, man, Walker's a monster. Got to love it.
And you can go watch the highlight reel yourself. We got to be careful with this stuff because that's how we got hit before with the copyright stuff. It was college tape that some person on YouTube posted to, and the AI flagged it as we stole their content, although we knew they didn't have the rights. They had a couple hundred people subscribing, but because the AI flagged it and he accepted the flag, that's what got us marked as using someone else's content. So it's footage that everybody has access to that this guy wanted to be an ass about and flag our channel and say we stole it from him. And there's no one to talk to at YouTube. No, you can't call customer service, go, hey, here's what actually happened. Can we get this revoked here? No, there's no one. It's sorry. That's just read the policy. Read our policy. That's what we get from a automated chat. So that's what's frustrating. And I'm sure we'll get boosted down the algorithm again, and that's okay. But just for saying that, but it is what it is. But yeah, with him, the other thing, what I was going to say is go watch his highlights, and you're going to see him play wide 9. You'll see him play 3. You see that one, and people go, well, Clayton, we need a 3 tech. I'm with you. That's a dude who's got enough athleticism, and I think you'll see it unless I'm, disappointingly surprised with the combine or the pro day stuff. He can play all over the defensive line. He's not an ideal 9. Please don't take this the wrong way. But he can play.
We wouldn't need him for that, though, I don't think, right? We've got guys for the wide 9 sets.
Yeah. He can play 3. There's no doubt about that. So, all right. Anything else you want to hit on here, Tim?
We covered Deion Walker being a dog, so we've accomplished everything that I needed to do today.
That's all that matters, right?
Now we're not going to talk about him anymore, so hopefully he stays under the radar.
Look, Andy Walker says, morning, y'all. We're wrapping up, Andy. I'm sorry, bub. Appreciate you swinging through. Hey, hit that like button for us, though. We greatly appreciate it. All right. Let's get out of here. We'll be back tonight, 7 p.m. Central for more for PTA Live. And we're going to dive into that article from the 33rd team. We're also going to talk about Daniel Jeremiah's first mock draft, and we might do a couple mock drafts ourselves here on the night show. We'll see if
hey, there we go.
If there's anything else to talk about. So, Tim, thank you for your time, man.
Thanks for having me, man. This was awesome. See you tonight.
All right, buddy. Everybody have a great day. We got one special request here from Holmes MD1, though. He said, Tim, cue this up for us as we wrap this show up, if you don't mind, sir.
You think God never farted?
All right, that's it. Y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you tonight.
And we go.
Bye, guys.